What's going on, guys? So today we are training biceps for maximal definition. Now before we begin, I want us to take a quick tour through the anatomy of the biceps. There are a few muscles to keep in mind here. The biceps brachii is a scientific name for the long head and short head of the biceps, which are maximally trained in different positions. Also to keep in mind, we have the brachialis, which attaches from the shoulder to the upper arm, and then the brachioradialis, which, as its name suggests, attaches from the upper arm to the radius in the lower arm. So the first exercise here, we are targeting the long head of the biceps. This is a standing hammer curl. Notice my grip is in neutral position, thumbs are pointed in front of me and go up towards the sky. My upper arm, notice the lack of movement. We are having this upper arm pretty stationary, pressed against our side. Now this exercise can also be done on an incline bench. Notice how my elbows start off behind my body. This allows us to have a maximal stretch on that long head, which increases the force production from it. Now from here, we want to make sure that our chest is up, our arms are fully extended, and what we don't want to see, whether it's standing or seated, is too much movement in the upper arm. We really want to keep that isolated. Now in this clip here, I'm intentionally moving my upper arm forward with each rep, as you can see. This is actually what we do not want to do. This is an example of what to avoid. Now for this next exercise, we are doing a supinated, otherwise known as underhand isolation curl. In order to do this, we are taking the non-activated hand and we're using that as a placeholder for our biceps. The arm that is doing the curl, I'm actively pressing this bicep against my hand to increase the focus on that short head. So we just trained the long head of the biceps, moving on to the short head. Notice as we are on our second exercise, we do have that transient pump, which is going to be crucial in driving nutrients to those muscles to ensure growth. Now, exercise number 3, we're tying in a bunch of these muscles together. These are waiter curls. Just like a waiter at a restaurant, we're going to hold the dumbbells between both arms in our palm. We're targeting the long head of the biceps, some of the short head, and we're actually diving into the brachialis, the muscles that go towards the forearms. Now, the last exercise on this list, we are targeting the biceps once again, but this time more of an isolation on the brachialis and brachioradialis, with an overhand grip curl. Now notice I'm keeping my elbows pressed against the side of my ribs with an overhand grip. What we don't want to see is the wrist bent as so. So these are a couple of repetitions of what we don't want to do. We want to make sure our wrists are in line with our forearms and we're not doing this little T-Rex maneuver here. Now from the front view, you can see that my thumbs are over the dumbbells, so I'm taking the thumbs out of the equation to increase the focus on the brachialis and brachioradialis in the forearms. Now notice at the top position, it isn't perfectly flat. That's completely fine. Just focus on keeping our arms straight with an overhand grip. Now, just like the underhand isolation curl we did before, we can perform an isolated overhand curl using the activated bicep to press against our hand that's placed on our rib cage, still keeping an overhand, otherwise known as pronated grip, with the thumb above the dumbbell as seen here. Now to bring everything together, we went through 4 main movements to target bicep definition and growth, the first of which is a hammer curl using a neutral grip to target the long head of the biceps. Second, we have an isolated underhand curl, otherwise known as a supinated curl. We are targeting the short head of the biceps in this case. Number 3, more of a compound exercise, bringing in the short head, the long head, as well as the brachialis and brachioradialis, which attach into the forearm. And then number 4, we have our overhand curl, which is more specific to the brachialis and brachioradialis. As far as programming these exercises into your workout routine, I would recommend performing 8 to 10 repetitions to target hypertrophy, or otherwise known as muscle growth for these biceps, and 3 to 4 sets, increasing the weight as the exercises lessen in difficulty.